Welcome back to another episode of Reboot. And firstly, thank you for all of the comments and likes and additional subscribes to my last video on Siem Reap and why I love it here so much. And to be honest, that was quite a welcome change to the previous video on the border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia and the comments received on that video, which took some reading. And they also got me thinking about the comments section of videos on this subject and how they play out when you measure them against the value systems that are in these regions. And that's the subject for this video, Buddhism and the comments section. Now, I am not a Buddhist. I am spiritual, but I'm not a Buddhist. So there's every chance that I've got something wrong, despite trying to do my research. So if I have got anything wrong, or you just have any comments on this video or any thoughts, please drop them in the comments box below. But until the next one, thank you, and I will see you soon. Before I moved to Asia, I had this image in my head of Buddhism, an image that was peaceful, grounded, gentle. The monks in saffron robes walking slowly at dawn, the stillness in the temples, the quiet smiles. It all seemed to come from something deeper, and that was something I wanted to understand. And I thought if there's one philosophy that might help modern society become more compassionate and mindful, surely it's this one. But just lately, I've started questioning that image, not because of what I've seen in monasteries or my research on the teachings, but because of something far more modern, the comments section. Not all of it, but some of it. The hostility, the nationalism, the sarcasm, the mockery, the ego. And it made me wonder, what happened to right speech? Now, I'm not a Buddhist, but I am spiritual, and I respect these teachings deeply. So today I want to explore something that's been on my mind, particularly after the last few videos. How do Buddhist values hold up in the digital age? And why does it so often feel like they've been left behind? So let's start with the basics, because before we can talk about whether these values are missing, we need to understand what they actually are. So Buddhism isn't a religion in the Western sense. It's not about worshipping a god. It's a practice, a set of tools, a system for ending suffering. And at the heart of it, there are ethical foundations that anyone, Buddhist or not, can learn from. And these are called the five precepts. And number one is refrain from killing living beings. Number two, refrain from stealing. Number three, refrain from sexual misconduct. Number four, refrain from false speech. And number five, refrain from intoxicating drinks and drugs that lead to carelessness. And these aren't commandments, they're guides, commitments. But there's one teaching that seems almost tailor-made for the internet, and that's right speech. Right speech, part of the Noble Eightfold Path, includes no lying, no divisive speech, no abusive language, and no idle gossip. So let's just think about that. No lying, no stirring up division, no verbal abuse, and no idle gossip. Now imagine if every online comment followed just those four ideas. And there's more. Other core values in Buddhism include metta, which is loving kindness towards all beings, karuna, which is compassion, mudita, which is sympathetic joy and feeling happiness when others are happy, upekkha, which is equanimity, so staying balanced and calm, unatta, which is the doctrine of no self, the understanding that we are not fixed, unchanging individuals, and the final one is sati, mindfulness, the constant awareness of one's thoughts, words, and actions. So these are the values that are supposed to be at the heart of Buddhist societies. They're written on temple walls, they're chanted every morning, they're taught in schools. But how often do we see them lived, especially online? So let's get real. Over the last few months, I've received hundreds of comments. Most are kind, curious, and respectful, but some are something else entirely. So for the next minute, I'm going to display some of these comments on screen, and I'd like you to review these comments within the mindset or the framework of the Buddhist teachings we've just reviewed. So whilst these comments play on screen, let's just think about this for a second, because often these comments come from people who proudly identify as Buddhist. And it's not just my channel, it's everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, the nationalism, the ego, the divisive language, the unkindness. So where is right speech? Where is mindfulness? Where is compassion? And these aren't Western critiques, they're Buddhist questions. Because I think if you claim Buddhist heritage but mock others online, what does that say? To me, it says that Buddhism is used as an identity, not as a guide for how we live. In Buddhist philosophy, the root of suffering is attachment. And the biggest attachment of all is the self. The Buddha taught that there is no fixed self, that I is just a collection of habits, memories, reactions, and letting go of this false self is liberation. But online, the self seems to become a performance. My country is better. My version of history is correct. If you don't agree, you're stupid. And this is ego in action. And ego is the direct opposite of what Buddhism tries to dissolve. The more we cling on to ego, personal, national, religious, the more we suffer, and the more we cause others to suffer. So why is there such a disconnect between Buddhist teachings and Buddhist behavior online? And I think there are four potential reasons. So the first is Buddhism is inherited, not practiced. And I think just like Christianity in the West, many are born into Buddhist cultures, but that doesn't mean they practice the teachings. Just like many of the West, like I said, many in the West are born into Christianity without ever opening a Bible. Reason two, cultural Buddhism versus practical Buddhism. And I think for some, Buddhism is about identity, festivals, clothing, monks on holidays, but not necessarily about how they live or speak. Reason three, online platforms amplify ego. So I think it's true, and certainly what I've seen is that algorithms reward rage, conflict, attention. They don't reward silence, kindness, or humility. And reason four is that nationalism has merged with religion. So I think it's true that in some countries, Buddhism has become fused with national pride, and that turns a spiritual path into a political weapon. So as with my previous video on the border dispute between Cambodia and Thailand, where the final section was a reflection on what we could do to improve the situation, I'm going to do the same here, and I've called this final part a new way forward. And I'd like to ask the question, what it would look like if Buddhist values were actually lived online. So imagine this, disagreements met with curiosity, not cruelty. Comments that uplift, not attack. A culture where silence is respected, not mocked. And compassion that extends even to those who disagree. So just imagine this. Imagine if instead of typing in anger, we paused, breathed, reflected. Imagine if we asked ourselves, is what I'm about to say kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Because I think those questions are Buddhist and they matter. So this video isn't about shaming anyone, but to remind all of us, including myself, that spirituality isn't about labels. It's about how we live. And in a region where Buddhism is so deeply rooted, there is so much potential for kindness, for clarity, for peace, but it has to be practiced. So to those who show up with love and wisdom and humility in the comments box, thank you. To those who feel angry, defensive, or hostile, maybe just pause. Because the real path isn't in the past or proving who's right, it's in letting go. And maybe, just maybe, it starts today in your responses to this video. So just to wrap up, may you all be well, free from suffering, and may your online life reflect the peace you seek offline.